Alrighty, welcome everybody to the final webinar of the year. It's Christmas. We've all got jumpers on, I hope. Let's have a look at cameras. Let's see, how do I open it up again? There we go. I think a good mixing, yeah, Ursh has got, yeah, good. December webinar. It's been quite a year. So we've got some cool stuff to show you this evening, which I think you'll all like. As well as, let's click through, shall we? So we'll do a bit of introduction. We've got a new way of approaching or explaining a digital experience platform as well. So many of you who are joining us live tonight will kind of have heard us mention this before. We've got a bit of a new diagram and we'll explain things, and hopefully that will click with you too. Then we'll take a look at the year as a whole and take a look at our journey throughout the year. We'll highlight some of the key features along the key events along the way. And then we'll take a look at next year. So we'll have a sneak peek at the roadmap and some of the things we have planned for Q1 of next year. And then we have a surprise Christmas gift, a little something to end the year. So without further delay, our mission here at Siteglide, as I'm sure many of you know, have been to empower digital experiences. So we provide the tools and the support you need to deliver unparalleled customer experience, digital experience solutions for your clients. So one of the problems we've discovered, which is partly why we decided to go out and create Siteglide in the first place, apart from end of life, is that businesses and agencies like ours struggle to deliver customer experiences because data ended up being siloed. It's stuck in one place and you can't move it to other areas. Larger teams have an average of 45 different business tools they use, and the data is spread out across all of them, as studies have shown. On top of that, people have said they've either basically mismanaging data, so they've got too much or not enough, and the next part would be knowledge and awareness of how to facilitate the delivery. So we have a new approach that we would like to, a new diagram to describe everything we've been talking to you about over the past year, or 2 years. So the solution being digital experience platforms like Siteglide. So traditional CMSs would be a bit of a siloed thing. You'd have a database for your data, you'd have a front-end website and a UI to help manage or help facilitate the management of the website and the data. But typically, you can't really connect to external solutions and services because there's very little to no API support whatsoever. So your data's stuck in one place and it's all kind of disconnected if you want to start doing marketing or anything else. Oops, there we go. So a little bit later on, so traditional CMS has been around for quite a long time. Everybody's very, very familiar with them. They will have grown up in the industry with them. Next came headless CMSs. So the introduction of an API that allows you to connect to external services. So typically they're API driven, which means you have a database and a UI for managing that and an API to connect to CRMs, e-commerce platforms, etc. But you have to host the front end elsewhere. So you have to also have some kind of front-end hosting platform for your website or service as well. Zoom keeps knocking me off. There we go. So then we came, the industry as a whole bred the hybrid CMS, which incorporated all of these. So it gave you back the front-end management in and amongst the API and the database, which was a pretty good solution. So you now have a database, a front-end website, or solutions such as a kiosk or some kind of app and a UI to manage that. So digital experience platforms like Siteglide, what we do is incorporate all of this and more. Oh, zoom, there we go. So we take all of these pieces and put them all in one place for you, which makes management of them much easier and it reduces costs. So if you were looking at, can I go back? There we go. If you were looking at purely API-driven headless CMS, you'd have to then have a team set up the API connections, whether it be through Zapier, which has a cost, or through having the knowledge and experience and time and budget to be able to do that. And then you've got to have an ongoing maintenance just in case any of these other platforms decide to change what they want to deliver to you or how their API works. So by incorporating many of these all into one, you remove a lot of that stress and ongoing maintenance and cost. So it inevitably makes things cheaper. So we incorporate, as you can see, the database, the front end, with a UI to manage both, and a public API with Zapier. So on top of all of that, we also have things like CRM and eCommerce, and allow you to set up membership portals and other integrations. And if that's not enough and you need something bespoke, you can still use the API to connect to external solutions as well. Okay. And of course, underpinning all of this are the key values and approaches of platformOS and their team, which are performance, reliability, security, scalability, and flexibility. So hopefully that diagram helps kind of demonstrate or depict a better description of our platform and the route we're going down, and why digital experience platforms are the future. Okay. So to back this up, we asked many of our partners to head over and give us a review on G2, one of the world's largest tech review platforms. And so, as many of you will know, in the fall, so they did a report in the fall a couple of months ago, and we were #1 in the digital experience space in their category. And we also won a whole 10 awards at the same time, including High Performer, Best Support for SaaS, Easiest Admin, Best Meets Requirements, along with a whole bunch of others, which you can see there for relationships and high performers in other categories. So specifically, and we've not shown this part yet, you can see it on their website, but we've never presented it. So specifically looking at things like digital experience and the category that we're within, if we come and take a look at this, we can see a grid here. This is on G2, publicly available. Within a matter of months of launching on the G2 platform, Siteglide has become one of the highest performers in the category, despite being one of the youngest and significantly cheapest than some of the other solutions available. And then we have the added news that winter report is due out in 2, 3, 4 days, something like that. And we are set to be winning a whole bunch more awards, including the digital experience platform, again, #1, but also the web content management grid. So we are going to become, well, we're in the top contenders, I think either second or first, we're not sure yet, in the web content management category as well. And you can see, much like the DXP version, we are amongst the top group of high performers, despite having only launched really a year ago. So that's excellent. So if we move on, oh, okay, yeah. So next, what I'll do is move on to the overview of the year. So we're going to have a run through, a bit of a timeline about some key features and functionality and other key events that's happened through 2020, sorry. So first of all, January. So we started off the year by introducing a billing system. So Client Connect and Agency Direct managed through Stripe, along with a staging expiry system and flow to automate the website expiries for trials and improved UX across the board. Then in February, we introduced CLI deploy and export. So it's good for managing sites and moving things between sites, along with improved UX across the board. There's various things, I won't go into all of them. Toolbox refreshing, we launched DNS, so you could add and manage DNS settings on sites, along with the white labeling logos in Portal and template duplicates for page templates. We also had Emily join the success team back in February. Seems like a long time ago now. There's been a whole 2 lockdowns since then. But yeah, so then we go into March. And we added the ability to edit the DNS that was being added to websites. We introduced shipping and quoting only for eCommerce. We introduced product CSV management, pagination improvements for speed and performance, and also allowing you to edit the layouts. We added data source performance improvements. So we increased the speed at which they operate when you're loading on the front end of the site. And we also added duplication to pages so that you can duplicate content without having to copy and paste or rewrite it all. Next is April. So in April, we introduced the big events module. It was an extremely popular one, and I know many people have used it since we've released it. And we've also added a lot more to it since then in terms of layouts and functionality on the front end on our starter site and things like that too. We added discount code functionality for eCommerce, live cart update. We added the public API and Zapier with sharing endpoints across both of them so that you can start accessing and getting the data out, as we looked at with some of the digital experience stuff earlier in the graph. And we added lists and increased sorting functionality into the UX, particularly around admin, so you could manage data more easily. And so, yeah, we've got the Zapier logo there to match. Then in May, let's move Zoom out the way, apologies. We had admin UI performance improvements. So we sped up the way admin operated rather than loading all of the data everywhere. We reduced it and segmented it so that you could get the results on pages you were looking at more quickly. We added automatic generation of HTML sitemaps so that you didn't have to manually trawl through your site and add all of the pages individually yourself. And we improved migration tools, specifically for migrating from BC at this time. And also in May, we had Bianca, head of marketing, join us as well. I think several of you will have seen her active on the social media platforms. In June, we had the immediate downloads module release. So that was quite a good one as well. So you could add dynamically secure content and lock it. So even if somebody worked out the URL, they would need a valid code to be able to access that and view it in their browser. We added front-end submit forms on web app items, form confirmation data, so that when somebody submits a form, they can see a little bit of a preview of the data they've just submitted. Site usage and subscriptions, so that you could see the usage your website was using and then relate that and its value to the plan and your client's incomes. And we had improvements to the UX on code editor. Also in June, we had Paul. So many of you will not have heard of Paul or met him, but he joined the product team as a developer back in June, and he's worked on things like the code editor UX improvements and reporting, which I'll give you a sneak preview of a bit later on. Okay, so onwards to the second part of the year, which is July. In July, we had the BC blog module import tool introduced so that you could take an export via BC exporter of the entire BC blog module, doesn't matter how many blogs you've got, and import it into Siteglide in just a few clicks, much like you could do with web apps. We also have the web app import performance improvements. So we made it more stable and slightly faster at running so that you can get your data in more easily from BC. We had secure zone sign-up performance. We're seeing a theme for this month, where specifically on the sign-up forms, we reduce the number of requests that we're going through, which means the clients and customers have a slicker experience when signing up to websites. And we had CFS management on the CRM, so being able to add and delete and edit custom fields that you've attached to your customers. And then obviously a whole host of UX things across the board, which I won't all go through and list now. Then in August, we had secure web app items, a very important one, specifically for people building online portals or membership areas. If they have customers or clients of their company, creating and managing content on their websites, this was a really important one. The ability to duplicate web app items, not web apps at this time, along with vanity domains in the admin and portal. So now that you've added a domain to your site to put it live, we show that information and make it relatable in the portal. In September, we allowed module item duplication, so bringing across some of the features and functionality you have experienced on web apps. Then we had a clearer e-commerce orders UX introduced so that you could see the breakdown of costs and where discount codes had been applied and things like that. We introduced code editor icons so that you could more easily and intuitively, pardon? Oh, I see, you muted. So that you could more intuitively create files and folders on the fly to build out sites more quickly. Next up, we had web app location search. So on the front end, being able to generate search queries for customers of websites to be able to find various things like locations of shops or hospitals or what have you. And then we had web app item owners. So that allowed you to attach web app items to a single person who submitted them and manage that content, along with UX improvements in this month as well. Okay. Oh, and I almost forgot. In September, the G2 full report came out, which is what all those awards you saw earlier are from. This is the month that it happened, which is really good. And then in October, we had Secure Zone Session Control. We had eCommerce, so Secure Zone Session Control allows you to limit or control the amount of time it takes to expire the current session of a user logged into a site. E-commerce product attribute management, so being able to add, edit, and remove attributes more easily on products. And also in October, we had Ali, head of sales, join our team. So she's been here a couple of months now, getting up to speed. I think she's with us this evening, so hi. And we also introduced PayPal for e-commerce as a third payment gateway, so that customers on websites can submit payment via the PayPal systems. Okay. And finally, in November, we introduced module custom fields. So introducing more of the functionality that we saw on web apps now in modules, which is all down to the core architecture that platformOS provide us with. We're able to not silo modules off like platforms like BC did. They're all built in the same way. So we're able to draw across that kind of functionality. We also added the location searches that we saw on web apps in the events module earlier in the year, along with secure zones, so being able to secure some of the module items as well. We also added image fields to categories along with custom fields so that you can create proper categories for things like products. So again, thanks to that core architecture, we don't have to have specific tags or catalogs for things like e-commerce. Categories are all managing everything centrally. So whether it be that you're using them for blog posts or e-commerce catalogs or anything else, you can use the categories dynamically across all of those. And then we have web app edit item owner. So not only are you allowing people to submit content from the front end and own it, you're also now able to manage that and set them on the fly in the admin to control or set up a site before users even get to it. So by November, we are quite firmly at a point where you can roll out entire marketplaces and forums and communities online. And I know many partners have already started doing that to great success. Some of them are looking really cool. Finally, in November, we had Ravi join, who is a UX UI designer, and he is taking over the management of all of that on the Siteglide platform. So you'll see a lot more coming soon. We already saw some introductions of that in the things like the welcome page in our portal dashboards. Okay. So next, let's take a look at December. So this month, what's just come out today? Today's release, what was it? So I'm going to go through, I'll list some of the key highlights, and I'm going to show you some of them as well, just briefly before we move on. So first of all, reporting for CRM users and cases, so form cases, being able to access and filter and then export that data to anywhere that you would like to. Then we have the file manager enhancements. So we've changed the way file manager works so that it runs off the root of the CDN assets folder, giving you maximum control and flexibility. This is particularly useful for people using the static site import tool because some clients don't always put files in the right place, and many of them may be on the root of a website when you move them over. In addition to that, we have some extra functionality for moving and managing files, which we'll take a look at in a second as well. And then we have CRM users. So secure zone lists are now visible on a user in the CRM so that you can see what content they have access to and begin managing that. And finally, a nice one. I'm really excited by this one. It's custom array fields for web apps. So you are able to insert a field like this and have your client managers of the website create additional list items on the fly without having to edit the structure of a web app. Okay, so let's go and take a look at some of these, shall we? So over on one of my test sites, I have, you will all see a new item menu on the, sorry, a new item on the left-hand menu, which is reporting. So if I head into here, we can see we have users and cases. And what these are doing are accessing the data, whatever data is available on the site for each of these groups. And I can begin filtering this data by adding in multiple columns. So you can start extending the range of data that you're calling in. So for example, I could add things like email or which secure zones they're attached to, and then start filtering these by the dates as well. So I can start picking some of the, it's just test data on this site, but let's give it a go. There we go. So then once you've done that, you can effectively start filtering the data at the bottom of the page and then download the report to a CSV. So it means you can generate reports for your clients to say, well, okay, how many users did we get signed up in last month, for example, or how many form cases did we get? How much traction did we get on our website? So this is just the beginning. We wanted to get an update out so that you begin using it, and we'll add to it over time. There is an awful lot we can do here with the data available to us. So this, again, so this has been released today. You can go and try it out immediately after this webinar. And then we have File Manager as well. So if I come over here, for those who are familiar with the File Manager view, we've removed the 4 tabs across the top for images, JavaScript, files, and CSS, I think is the correct order. So we've removed those now, and we are just looking at the root asset level folder on the CDN. So we can see these folders that did exist, along with anything else that we put on the root. And if we go into some of these folders, you'll see we now have bulk controls as well. So I can begin moving some of my files to different folders, or I could delete them, etc. If I go in and edit one of these files now, I also get access to change the name of the file that I've uploaded. So we're beginning to see more file management controls coming into the platform, which is really cool. Okay, let's continue. How are we doing time-wise? Pretty good. Okay, so as promised, we're going to show a bit of a roadmap of what's coming early next year. So let's crack on. First of all, we have user roles. So at the moment, we have some hidden user roles. So if you invite a client, they can't do certain things such as edit and manage the DNS, for example, or access the billing and see the pricing that you're paying for them. So we're going to be introducing some additional levels. Client is already existing effectively, but we're going to add in the client restricted. And that client level will prevent people from being able to view, manage, or edit any of the code views across their admin. In addition, they won't be able to delete any items from web apps, for example. So they won't be able to go in and just delete all of the items on their website. Next up in 2021 is eCommerce BC parity. So this is something the team's been working on. We've been working hand in hand with our advisory board and getting feedback and discussing things with them. And we're going to be looking at any remaining features that we need, or rather you need, to be able to move your sites away from BC as soon as possible. Third is CRM companies. So being able to connect clients by company and add information to companies as well. So in some CRM or marketing platforms that are out there, a company effectively is just a tag. It just groups information, but you'll actually be able to go into a company and add relevant information to that company as well, and access that from each user's profile. Next up is time zones. So as I'm sure many of you are aware, if you're building sites on Siteglide, at the moment, it all runs off of UTC, which is slightly problematic. You can obviously change it and adjust it in your liquid code output, but we're going to be looking at allowing you to define a specific time zone per site so that you don't have these complexities moving forwards when you're building sites. Then we come on to menu builder enhancements. So we're going to be introducing some of the UI and UX functionality that you see in web apps and modules in terms of the drag and drop reordering, for example, along with a couple of additional fields that will allow you to build more flexibly with your menus. And we'll also be including things like web apps and modules into the menu so that you can more quickly build out those menus too. Okay, and then we come on to instance copy and marketplace phase 1. So instance copy is going to allow you to duplicate an existing site and spin it up to either a staging or a live site, depending on your plan level and the number of sites you're using. And that starts to frame some of the, starts to form some of the framework for heading into a marketplace. Because effectively, at that point, if you wanted to, and if a partner, another Siteglide partner asked you to perhaps purchase a template of a site that you've done, you could agree terms with them on your own and then just duplicate it to another partner and effectively give them a modularized version of your site. So that starts touching on a marketplace, but we're going to introduce a proper space where you could start having listings and other partners can start discovering the kinds of content that you have available to you. To begin with, we won't introduce pricing and billing systems and all of that. We'll add it a little bit later, but we want to get a basic marketplace in there so that you guys can start or continue the relationships that you're already forming and start delivering content to each other. Next up is Studio. So for those of you who haven't seen, you can head over to studio.siteglide.com. We have a visual page builder in there, so you can drag and drop Bootstrap 4 layouts and build out a wireframe of a page very quickly. We're going to be looking at adapting the variables files that you see in your website, on your Siteglide site for those. So rather than looking at SAS files and defining hex codes and things like this for managing the variables, you'll be able to see a nice little pretty UI with color pickers and things like that, so you can more easily build out the theme and control the theme of an existing site. And meanwhile, while all of this is going on, we'll be maintaining and keeping the public API, import and export features and migration tools up to date. So as we add in some of these new features, we'll want to make the data accessible in addition and join that in with the API things that we're offering already. So that's a bit of a picture of effectively Q1 of next year and some of the things that we have planned. Okay, so I mentioned we'd have a bit of a Christmas present. So we, the Siteglide team, are for December offering to import your sites for free. So we will run the static site import tool for you to a site that you have available. And then that means that the CLI work doesn't have to be done by you, and you can get stuck in and begin integrating to any of the Siteglide features that you'd like to, or importing and managing your data from there. So we were going to run the import for you for free. And for anybody who doesn't know, it also, when you run the import, it also begins optimizing the images and assets for you, which improves page speed, performance, etc., and SEO scores, as we can see here. And it also allows you to add value on top over time. So because it moves the information from your existing site as is, you don't have to rebuild the entire site right then and there. You can give yourself some space and do it over a period of time. And finally, if you have taken us up on our offer to import to your site for you, but then you're kind of a bit stuck or wondering where you can go next, or perhaps there's some specific features or functionality, particularly around complex liquid and things like that you'd like to have a look at, you can head over and see Site Gurus. So these guys are also running migration offers. As you can see, they offer the static import, which you don't need to take them up on, but they also offer enhanced migration functionality as well. So moving over web apps and modules and e-commerce products, these guys will do it all for you. So you can hand the site over to them and ask them to complete the migration for you. And they currently have an offer on that reduces the cost by 50%. I believe that's until the end of December, but correct me if I'm wrong, Site Gurus guys.
I think it's on the first 50 or the next 50. So, and just to be clear on the static one, that's for static websites. It's more than running the import. It's actually doing a full migration of a static site. But you can find more details on there, I believe.
Excellent, thanks. Wonderful, cool. So, well, that just leaves us to say thank you for joining, and thank you to the Siteglide early adopters, all of you, Adam and the platformOS team, and the rest of the Siteglide team. So I'll open it up to any questions, but also I think Adam and Luke, you'd like to say a few words too.
Luke, the floor's yours first. Great work, Martin, and to the whole Siteglide team. Amazing.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Adam, and thanks, Martin. Yeah, just a couple of quick points on some of the things Martin raised. A big thank you to our advisory board. We have a bi-weekly call with those guys, and we had some great feedback this week actually on the user roles topic and some other things as well. So just a bit of a thank you there. It's really helpful having that kind of feedback, and you've massively helped us drive the platform to where it is today and getting the results that and the reviews that we're getting. So thank you. And just another point on the reporting that Martin mentioned. We really, our big ethos around the mission that Martin mentioned and the DXP angle is that we believe all your data should be accessible everywhere. You should be able to get any data into the platform, be able to work with it, export data, share it, integrate it with other platforms. So the reporting tool that was released today allows you to sort of work with user data and cases, but you can actually, we're going to be really opening that up to make sure that all data is accessible, and then via things like the API as well. And yeah, from the timeline, I think you've probably seen that we've done quite a lot this year. So yeah, just a very big thank you to all of my team who do an incredible job on constantly building features, supporting people, and helping us get those reviews. But a massive thank you to Adam and his team as well for supporting us and the relationship we have there. It's more than just working together. It's really good being able to work the way we do with the entire team. And also, very importantly, thank you to all of our early adopters who have either been with us from the very beginning or maybe joined more recently. But thank you for sort of choosing Siteglide and also seeing where we're going to take the platform. And it's really exciting to see where it can go with that feedback we've had and all the improvements we've been making over the last year or so. Yeah, so I think that.
Sorry, just because I'm seeing in the chat on the site import. For anybody who is currently watching this, by the time you get the recording, you will also have the link to allow you to sign up for a free import. Anybody who is watching the recording, it's already there, so go and head over and have a look. Apologies for the confusion.
We'll send a follow-up email tomorrow with all the details.
Yeah, thanks, Ali.
So if you missed that, Ali was just echoing that all the details will be going out, those who are in the room and those who are watching. You've probably got it in your inbox, so maybe go and check that out. Yeah, I want to echo the sentiments that Luke just shared. The partnership and the teamwork that exists behind the scenes with engineers nattering away and DMing each other. We don't even see the half of it. I know, between Luke and I, we see the alarm bells go off, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of amazing work that all the boffins are coordinating and making sure are happening well. And so we couldn't have done it. We couldn't have built platformOS, of course, without our community. And certainly with what Siteglide have achieved in 2 years, I think it probably took us at Business Catalyst, when we started Business Catalyst, maybe 4 years, with a whole bunch of people to do what they've done so quickly and with so much more flexibility. It's almost like I think Luke must have had the whole team in some kind of lockdown and wasn't letting them out of their offices since at least March. But whatever you did to coordinate that, Luke, I need that secret sauce, because your team has absolutely crushed it and delivered incredible results for your partners. I've got a little celebratory bottle here. I'm just going to share with everybody to celebrate the incredible result with G2. We are all very proud of that ourselves. And in fact, we go. Don't take my eye out. I'll cover it over. Oh, there we go. Congratulations, Siteglide and the team, and to all your partners who have been part of the advisory board there. Here's to you. Here's to your continued success, and here's to the ongoing partnership. I'm sorry, in lieu of my crazy Christmas jumper, I have champagne instead. Cheers, guys.
Trumps it. Thanks, Adam. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well done.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Excellent. Well, on that, we will end the recording there. And we will see you all next year if you're watching the recording. So we'll just stop that then. Bye-bye.